And we're back. I'm your host, BKP. Good morning from beautiful downtown Blue Ridge. Now, I got a message. Dr. Whaley, how are you?
Good morning.
Don't mean to hold you up here. We got a message from a viewer. So instead of the voice, they will have to do the news, and news anchors have to audition without being seen. Then they will stop putting on the dog and pony show and actually tell the truth.
You have to see a reporter before hiring them.
You have to?
Absolutely.
We'll get back to that.
This isn't a game show.
Did you know you were on a game show?
Listen,
I'm just going to have to tell you up front, with this young lady over here, I don't know what she's going to say. So
I don't either, but she does a really good job. First of all, you have to separate. We could do this for an hour on this sexism and entertainment thing, but you have to separate out the portion of the news program that is entertainment and competitive versus plain deal in the news. So when you go back to Huntley Brinkley, and it was a 15-minute segment,
right,
and it was 15 minutes of news, boom, wasn't any opinion, very little in the way of documentaries, but 15 minutes worth of news. You turned on the news at 5:30 or 6, and 15 minutes later it was the Lone Ranger. Ted Turner, who I know, when he came to the idea of 24-hour-a-day news, everybody told him he was crazy.
Right.
His idea was that it was like a cafeteria, and you would walk in all day long and take a little snack and go home, go out, come in and take a snack and go out. And so that was why there was the repetitive cycle, feeling that in a 24-hour day, different people were going to go on there and get their meal.
Right.
Well, now there are people that gorge all day long, and they gorge for 12 hours or 18, and it's the background of their life. So it's gone from really trying to find a way to transmit worldwide news to an entertainment philosophy. And you want to look at somebody that's pleasurable.
Well, no, I like where you're going with that, because what you're saying is we're getting to the point, and I think we're past the point, where sometimes we're having difficulty separating the TV show from the news.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And they have no choice. I say they could have a choice, but they have no choice but to do a 24-hour under the guise of newscast, but to have TV programming in there that looks like news. To me, I watch the 5 in the afternoon, and we're going to get to our questions. That's not really news. That's a TV show.
Not a bit.
Right? You agree, Katie?
Yeah, I think
it's discussion. I mean, they discuss, if you're not around friends to discuss politics, it's a great outlet, to get that kind of action.
Well, plus, in a lot of places, you can't get that slant because you come over as racist or homophobic or something,
right?
Or
any other label from
you can listen to them and say, "Boy, I really agree with that." But in a work environment, you couldn't get away with it. Now, when I was a boy, my dad, who was an FBI agent, used to always say, now this is 1948, when somebody would say, "That's a nice dress," my dad would say, "You only get out of a dress what you put in it." And basically, at the end of the day, when somebody is...
That can be taken a couple ways, right?
Well, but the point is that when you are admiring somebody's haircut, or you're admiring their clothing, you're actually admiring the wearer of it, or the person with the haircut. And where it gets to be harassment or it gets to be uncomfortable is as much in the eyes of the recipient of that as it is in the intent of the person who's giving it to you. So if you tell the choir director, you look real nice in your thing, that's a little different than telling your waitress, I mean, so there's anyway, we didn't mean to get into that.
Right.
No,
we got so much stuff.
That's okay.
Huh? What's the phrase that crosses the line? I mean, it's so hard to say.
All right.
What is and what is not harassment too?
This happens to be Dr. Whaley. I always look forward to it because I know he has some great insight, but thank you, Georgia Cancer Specialist, and we'll move on. Now, Dr. Whaley, obviously we know that Tab is healthy for you.
It is.
Okay. That's a given. We'll never ask you a question on whether it's okay to drink Tab, because obviously we checked that one off. Now, but this morning, I have interest in this one myself. You know, we go to the grocery store and some people don't. They just put it in the buggy, and I'm not being negative. They just go down the aisle and put it in the buggy. And some of us stand there and look at the back, or put these on and look at the back and read all the ingredients, see if there's gluten and so forth. Food additives, and this is something I'm very interested in. The government allows a big window to call it organic. I think it's a big window. But the question is, do food additives affect my health? Any particular ones I should avoid?
Well, interestingly enough, there's a difference between gluten, which is the natural product of wheat,
Right.
and an additive.
Right.
And when you talk about your health, you can talk about first, the calories in the food are not an additive.
Okay.
Okay? And the nuts in a product and most of the adverse reactions, in other words, death, anaphylaxis and so forth, are from nut products and not from food additives. But when I started researching this in response to the question when it was sent to me, I was brought in mind of my childhood when we used to go to the grocery store and buy a loaf of bread. And take this, we'll take this to the late 50s and 60s when I was actually married. You buy a loaf of bread, and if you had not eaten that bread in 3 days, you could use it as a hockey puck, and within 3 or 4 days it began to mold.
Right.
It can sit in your bread box today for weeks and remain soft and not have mold. So I'm going to read the official scientific report from Up to Date that says food additives may be classified by function. Additives that affect the chemical or structural characteristics of food include, you're going to have to get a long list, emulsifiers, acidulants, buffers, raising agents, and enzymes. Shelf life extenders include preservatives, antioxidants, curing and pickling agents, thickeners, colorers, gelling agents, non-nutritive sweeteners are added to alter sensory characteristics of foods. Now that is the definition of food additives. Every one of those is safe, 100% of what's in there. And that's the reason that the shelf life of your muffin and the shelf life of your bread is so long compared to how it was when it was first made. Now, I know that your wife makes bread every morning, gets up, kneads it, cooks it in the oven, and bakes bread.
Oh, absolutely.
It does. So
Yeah,
you just look and...
Muffins, blueberry, everything. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, okay. You count and look at the ingredients that she has in those, and it's 4. But you turn over the blueberry muffin or turn over the loaf of bread in your store, and there's stuff in there you've never heard of, glycerol this and glycerol that and everything else. And every one of those is there to enhance its durability, to enhance its color, which was meant in here colorings. In my 47 years of practice, I have had 2 patients, and that's not many in 47 years, who had a documented allergy to a food additive. One was a hockey player, and he ended up being allergic to red food dye number 3. And it was most characteristic in his biggest intake of it when they put him on a total rice diet and was still having reactions was his toothpaste. So the toothpaste that had the little stripe in it, and the stripe was red, was the color was red food dye number 3. Well, they've taken that off the market, but it was used in every single solitary thing that's red. I mean, whether it was strawberry pudding or jam or jelly or whatever.
Just recently, well, I say recently, but we just got red M&Ms back, right?
Yeah, well, anyway, so that's where the thing about the red, but I've had one, and that was a hockey
recently for me, Katie, could have been 15 years ago, okay?
Yeah,
So you don't have to look at me
to me, it can be 40 years.
Yeah.
All right. And
I didn't know about that story, so.
Okay, and the second one was allergic. He had, the first guy was a Norwegian, and he was actually diagnosed, had to send him all the way to New Orleans to get diagnosed. When people think their child or they themselves are having a reaction or an allergic reaction, now you're talking about being good for you versus an allergy, to a food product, unless it's the sulfates in wine, which are clearly marked, the nitrites in bacon and hot dogs and stuff, it is extremely unlikely that they're allergic to anything in that product. And out of over 1 million suspected allergies to food products, 0.23%, you can't get any smaller than that, actually had any demonstrable allergy to a food product.
So in general, for the additives, there's not really a long list out there that we should get concerned.
Absolutely, there's zero out there you should get concerned about.
Right.
That the guy who can't drink sulfated wines knows it pretty quickly, and the person that is allergic to nitrates that are in bacon and hot dogs and stuff learns it pretty quickly. But the idea that my doctor told me by doing a blood test that I needed to avoid all of these foods or that foods is a bit of hooey. Oh,
bit of hooey.
All right.
Bit of hooey is always a perfect segue into the next question.
All right.
So you would say the gluten.
What?
So you would say the gluten-free. What do you think about?
Don't say gluten.
Okay, now gluten's not a food additive, and we went through this. You missed the segment a couple of weeks ago. We did a whole segment on gluten. Gluten has been blamed for tons and tons of stuff. There is a way of diagnosing gluten sensitivity by a specific blood test or a specific biopsy in the small bowel, and the number of gluten sensitive people is this big, and the number of people who take gluten-free diets is that big, and lots of the gluten-free diets are not healthy because they're higher in various fats or higher in calories, and people think by going gluten-free they're going to get skinny and they're going to get healthy.
They gain
and it's
weight.
BS.
Most of them gain weight.
Hey, Katie, let me ask questions.
No, she can answer questions.
Yeah, I noticed that.
She's a blonde. Just like my wife. You said something about blondes on the couch, right?
Okay.
All right, go ahead. Blondes get more fun and they get more questions.
Well, you know, I try to stay focused.
Hey, I noticed that you haven't surrounded yourself by fat, ugly women. You've got Sam over there as a technologist, who's a gorgeous woman, and you're sitting here fussing at Fox about putting a bunch of pulchritude on the couch when you've surrounded yourself by a bunch of beautiful women. Now, how can you justify that? I know we could find a fat, ugly woman to sit over here that was a brunette if we wanted. Now, go ahead, ask another question. Ask me a question.
You successfully have thrown me clear off. I mean, you just knocked me out of the chair.
All right, go ahead.
Okay, let's try to get this thing back on target, okay?
Okay. You want to talk about?
I love you.
That's
you want
right
to talk
on
about
target.
aspirin and cancer? Or
No.
We're right where we're supposed
Okay,
to be.
Let's go to, for me, this would not work because you're outside, you work out, and how about putting ankle weights on when you walk? Like if you take walks using ankle weights, this is more of an exercise. Is it more of a beneficial to put some weight on you to walk? Is that better for you when you're exercising?
You're really asking that as a serious question, because I got that question on the internet, and the answer to that question is absolutely no. And it's absolutely no for a reason of physics, okay?
I ask you a serious question because I'll tell you what,
It is.
there's people that
Oh, you do it all the
market
time.
ankle. I mean, you
Oh,
go
my,
to the store and they.
Oh, selling like crazy. Okay.
Right.
All right. So what I want you to do is just take your just remember about centrifugal force. So
Right.
when you
Okay.
take a string and you tie a golf ball to it, and you sling it around like that, and you hit the golf ball, hit the window, it's going to hit that window with a certain amount of force depending upon the weight of the golf ball, the length of the string, and the speed, right? Well, we're going to change that golf ball to a shot put, which weighs 8 pounds. We're going to swing it at the same weight, and we're going to same rate on the string, and when it hits that window, it's going to go through the window and fly out there because the amount of kinetic energy at the end of the same length of string is infinitely higher. Now, your knee and your hip are meant to carry your foot.
Right.
They aren't meant to carry an extra pound. So when you put that extra pound on your foot and you either run or you walk, more than just from here to the
Right.
7-Eleven and back, if you're going to take, I ran 8 miles a day, 5 days a week for 40 years. If I'd done that for 6 months, I would have destroyed my knees and my hips, because with the additional weight at the end of the foot multiplied by 1,500 steps per mile. 8 miles, that's 9,000 steps, 12,000 steps. I'd have killed myself for 1 pound weight on my leg. So the answer to that question is no. Now, if you're doing exercises in a health club or something, that's a different animal. But no weights on your ankles when you walk or you run.
Okay, you know, when I first looked at that question, I thought the same thing. But then I thought, well, you know what? There's a big market out there that people sell these things, and you know, they strap them on their legs, and okay.
They're raising the cost of cigarettes in New York City to $13 a pack. There are plenty of people who sell cigarettes just like ankle weights. That doesn't make it.
You know what? Every time I told my dad I wanted to go to the gym and exercise, he showed me another truck I could unload.
Yeah. He didn't tell you to take a cold shower.
Yeah, he didn't tell me to go to the gym and exercise and lift weights. Son, you want to go lift weights? I got another truck you can unload.
Yeah, he didn't tell you
to. There's a whole stack of cinder
take a
blocks
cold shower and a few breaths and that to work out at the way the gym will pay.
Now, when I first took a look at this question here, I thought, now you said the last one, I thought, are you really serious with this question? But the more I thought about it, I said, you know, this is something that concerns a lot of people. When the weather is nice here, you like to exercise, you walk, okay? Walk, run, exercise. So we get those gym memberships through the winter and fall to get out of the rain and so forth. And then we like to switch that nice long walk outdoors or whatever exercise, hiking and everything. But what about air quality outside if you like when it's allergy season and stuff like that? Are you better off to stay in the gym and on the treadmill, or?
Not a bit.
Not a bit?
No. Now, if you were exercising in a gym that was inside a HEPA-controlled operating room, the pollen count would be less. Otherwise, it's the same in the gym as it is outdoors. Now, the caveat for that is we're talking about the North Georgia mountains. We're not talking about Beijing. We're not talking about London. We're not talking about LA. When you have the green, yellow, orange, red air quality issues, actually, when you get to the orange and the red, you'll have warnings that people with asthma, allergies, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, and with carbon monoxides there, heart disease, should not exercise outdoors because of the big old cloud of smog sitting over LA or sitting over Beijing. And if you do that indoors, then yes, the quality of the air indoors is better from the particulate smoke and everything than it is outdoors. Because those people, if you'll notice over there, wear masks. A lot of times their eyes are red, but that doesn't apply to North Georgia. Well,
those are the three questions I have today. Before, I'm going to tell you, if you have a question for Dr. Whaley, you can send that question to us, chief@fetchernews.com, chief@fetchernews.com. Find Fetcher News, go to the info, just click on that, send your question. But always say, ask the doc, send us a question, we'll get it to him throughout the week, he'll research it, and be here every Friday morning at 8:15. You know what, there's two things before we close, we just got brief time. We're getting ready to go over to Sycamore Crossing. I'm so excited about it. I love Blue Jeans Pizza here. I know you like it too, because I've been up here in the evening and I've seen you here a couple times, okay? So,
yeah, I had the diet pizza and the diet.
Yeah, you had the diet pizza. Yes, I know you did. You had the healthy diet pepperoni extra cheese, right?
Yeah, and the diet spaghetti, and I had the diet beer and everything.
And rolls and everything.
Yeah, rolls and everything.
And we know it's okay to drink tap. So anyhow, we love Blue Jeans Pizza, but this show, I tell you what, we started last year outdoors. We said, you know what, we're going to go outdoors. We're going to go on the road on Friday. We started at Sycamore Crossing. It was a brand new location. Great stores over there, right here in downtown Blue Ridge, and it just was awesome. A couple technical things, getting the bugs worked out, being the first road show we've done. Got over here, things are working well, going back. I'm excited. I love being in Blue Ridge on Friday mornings.
Well, plus we get to listen to the train whistle.
Train whistle at 9.
Yeah, 9 o'clock train whistle.
Okay, now, Katie, do you have a question for the doctor? Because you jumped in a minute ago. Did you have a question? We have just a minute or two. Don't say gluten. Do not say gluten or gluten-free. Outside of that, do you have a question?
You mentioned sulfates in wine and that someone would know if they had a problem with sulfates. Now, me personally, I don't know if I have a problem with sulfates in wine, but when you said that, I had a question because every time I have sulfates, just like when I have milk, I get a really bad cough. And I feel like a slight tightness in my chest. Would you say that's an allergy that, you know, that merits me staying away from wine, or would you say that's something minor that I should just look over?
Drink the wine. Or go to
I like that advice.
Or go to a high-end wine store where they've got labeled the sulfate-free wines and do yourself a biologic test.
Right.
For 2 or 3 days, drink the non-sulfated wine.
Drink
2 or 3
daily.
days, drink the other.
For 2 or 3 days, the whole day.
No, just your. The American Heart Association says 1 or 2 alcoholic beverages per day will raise your HDL cholesterol, and unless it's enough to make you gain weight, then that's the, you know, you can have alcohol. So I'm going to go ahead and tell you to get your wine and have your, I didn't say an orange big glass, but you have your 4 ounces,
Right.
3 days in a row of one kind, and then 3 days in a row of another kind. You couldn't do it just in one day. It takes a few days to know.
Okay, thank you.
You want to talk about sugary drinks? You want to hold that till next week, huh?
I got a minute and a half.
All right.
Sugary drinks.
Well, you brought up
Have
the
at
tab.
it.
All right. This week, there was a big study published that sugary drinks.
I didn't read the whole thing, but I got the first paragraph. I'm glad you're bringing this up.
All right. The sugary drinks, and then that they're not just talking about sodas, they're talking about fruit juices, orange juice, and all the rest of that, is associated with a variety of health issues we've spoken of in the past. And one, it's just empty calories and it makes you gain weight. But there is a tiny bit of evidence. When I say a tiny bit of evidence, it's like that 0.23%, that it leads to a decrease in brain volume and an increase in preclinical Alzheimer's disease. But then, in the same week, in another journal, it said that this stuff here is associated with a little higher incidence in stroke and a little higher incidence in dementia, which is just Alzheimer's disease. So at the end of the day, I don't think there's a bigger link with the orange juice and the Coca-Cola with sugar in it with the Alzheimer's part, but it does, the sugary drinks make you fatter, and that affects your otherwise health. How's that?
Wait,
Oh,
I've heard something contradicting.
Oh, of course. Everything contradicts.
Because
What?
when you have a non-sugary drink, when you have a sugar substituted drink, not a non-sugary drink, but a sugar substitute like a Diet Coke versus a regular Coke, you actually tend to gain weight by studies apparently, because you've tricked your brain that you're eating something sweet and your body's not actually getting that nutrients.
Okay,
it's
now
not getting real sugar.
no more of this collaboration between you and my wife. I am not going.
hey, wait a minute. Oh, no. Now when it happens to you, it's not okay. But when we're on here talking about hearing aids, then it's fine.
Oh, yeah.
When somebody sends you a message and I know where it comes from, that's okay.
That's okay.
But now it's not?
No.
Okay.
There's not any proof
No
of that, but the
collaboration.
conspiracy theory people will hypothesize that this creates your
He's on a
endocrine
contract with
pancreas
Coca-Cola.
to make more insulin to
Folks,
make
while
you
Katie
therefore
and
gain
Dr.
weight.
Whaley are finishing this up, I am BKP. Dr. Whaley, thank you for the Georgia Cancer Specialist. And I have not tasted a soft drink probably in about 6 years. I don't drink soft drinks. I know. I can see behind me.
No, but you got Tupelo tea.
Tupelo tea.
Tupelo tea, that is so healthy and
Yes,
so
I drink
good.
Tupelo tea.
It's
I drink
I
water.
won't say $6 a bottle, but go ahead.
But I don't. Georgia Cancer Specialist, thank you very much. Thank you, Dr. Whaley. Thank you for your great questions, Katie. And we'll be back with the all-star political panel. More on Fox News. Are they racist? Sexist? What are they? We don't know. And also 100 days of the President of the United States, health care. And is the government going to run out of money and unessential employees be let go? I'm your host, BKP. We'll be right back. And don't forget, State Senator Steve Gooch at 9:30. Take us a break, Sam.